Welcome back to the PowderKeg Podcast, your favorite transatlantic Chargers podcast. I'm Kyle, your host and armchair GM. And as always, I've got Coach Ryan with me, ready to dial in your X's and O's. We come to you on the other side of a 2-game skid as the Chargers finally get back on track with a much-needed win over the Dolphins down in Miami. Ryan, after that win, how you feeling, buddy?
After the roller coaster of emotions that last-minute wins bring, I'm bloody great, I have to say, but your mind can't help but wonder what being on the other side of that would have been like. I want to be positive, and a win is a win, and another one in the FC, counts definitely more, with the tiebreakers. But yeah, how you doing, man? Are you ready to break this one down?
Ready, man. Yeah, it was a wild one, so let's jump right into it, my man. Go for it. Why don't you start us off, Ryan?
I mean, we haven't been on a pod, both on the screen since the Alohi Gilman to Odafe Oweh trade. And I know you formed a bit of a friendship with Alohi through that online interaction that turned into, some more interactions and a really cool interview. What did you think when you heard the news? What was the first thoughts you had?
I was, obviously bummed to say goodbye to Alohi because I was a big fan. Like you said, he was really, really, really kind to me. Reached out and had commented on something I had written on on Twitter before. And I just started up a conversation with him from there, invited him onto our podcast, and he's kind of what made us speed launch when we did. He was our first episode was interviewing him. And that was really cool. And Alohi stayed after for an hour or two after that interview, and we just chatted. It was really cool. And he gave all sorts of insights and all sorts of stuff, man. And what I can tell you is when we had that talk, he gave such a cerebral insight and look at football, specifically Minter and the scheme. And he immediately described it or likened it to what was going on over at Baltimore, even at that time. Even though Minter was out of that system, how they were mirroring it and explaining how the 3-safety set worked and how he believed that if he did extend with the Chargers, because at that time he was unsigned, how he believed it would be an amazing fit for him and our current safety room. And I don't think any of us can look back and say that was a bad take. I think Alohi nailed it. It was a great fit for our secondary. And that's why I believe I told you, Ryan, and the TDU boys and people on Twitter, when Alohi got traded, I knew he's going to go there and he's going to succeed immediately because he already knows what they're doing over there, how they operate. He has the relationship with Kyle Hamilton. And look what happens. First week, and I think he was second on the team in their run grade or something like that. He crushed it. Had a great week. So sad to see him go. Very pleased to see Hortiz acknowledging that we had a lot of safety help and that we needed an edge, and we made a move that I think is going to set us up not just this year, but there's the opportunity for us to set up the future very well too and eliminate an immediate need in the draft next year. I shouldn't say eliminate, Ryan, but at least push it from where it was glaring red alert to now hey, if we do extend him, we have a lot more flexibility with our day 1 and day 2 picks. So that's it for me, Ryan. But yeah, it's moving on from Alohi before I get more sad. It does seem like the Chargers are still in the trade game. We could be saying goodbye to some Chargers that we're fans of or not fans of and bringing in some new talent. So I don't know. It looks like they're, according to Josina Anderson and some NFL Network insiders, they are reporting that Joe Hortiz is shopping around for running backs and tackles. It's kind of interesting that they're shopping for tackles with how deep our tackle pool is, even though it's been beat up. We will have Alt coming back at some point. We should have Tre, but maybe Tre's health isn't as good as we were hoping, and he's going to miss more time than expected. Ryan, before we move on from running backs, is there anyone in that tackle market that you think is realistically available?
I mean, with these things, as a Chargers fan, you rely on Alex Katz, and he's got such an inside track. It's like he thinks in line with the front office. And he said Evan Neal from the Giants, Max Mitchell from the Jets, and Dylan Radins, don't know how to pronounce that one, from the Saints as 3 options. And 2, I'll throw out there. One guy I've brought up before in one of my articles on Stormcloud is Kelvin Beachum. He's been in and out of the lineup, but when he has played, he's been largely solid. He's not fantastic, he's solid. That's what we kind of need right now. And then Braxton Jones has been massively out of favour since all the newcomers have come in at the Bears, and they've even got Ozzy Trapilo, who hasn't even played yet, their second round pick. So he's been out of favour. He had quite a big deal. They'd have to eat some of that money to trade him. But he's also not been good. But then again, it's about acquiring talent. So it's not a barren field to be farming the current tackle market. You know, there's names out there. It's not completely empty like the centre. But it's just how aggressive do they want to be to find margins in a season where we're not quite at the top of the pile yet, and we've already invested in the tackle position in terms of draft picks. So, yeah, what do you think?
I think it's tough because, you know, we've already seen Joe Hortiz part with some picks, and we don't have the compensatory picks that we normally have coming in under him, or we're expected to have coming in that free up our normal picks to be used as trade bait. So I think they might end up using that extra 7th in 2027 potentially to the one that they gained in this Gilman trade, and pair that maybe with another day 3 pick to get somebody back. There's also the chance, Ryan, that instead of just giving a trade up, kind of like what we did in the Alohi trade, you see them do a pick swap, but for in-year picks, like maybe our 3rd for a team's 4th and somebody, or maybe a little bit less aggressive, maybe like our 6th or whatever have you. So that will be very interesting. Something else I looked into, Ryan, Jack and I had a really good conversation. Jack from TDU had a really good conversation about how infrequent you see starting caliber offensive linemen traded. It almost doesn't happen in season because teams prioritize cohesion with their line so much. And that's one thing Alex indirectly pointed out with those trade targets. They're all basically guys that aren't starters, right? I don't know. Is Kelvin Beachum isn't starting right now, right? Or is he?
No, he's been in and out due to injuries in other positions.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you normally need to fish for depth and try to basically project a player as being a capable starter in your system, which is why last year I was really trying to hammer home that Ben Cleveland would be a great guy. You know, somebody that's a depth piece that was drafted into Greg Roman's scheme. Maybe he could plug in over here. What Jack and I discovered when we were, like I was saying, because we were looking at it from the center market at the time, I was like, I've never seen it. I can't research and find an example of a center that's been traded mid-season that would be considered starting level. It'd completely screw up the cohesion of the line. Don't believe it's been done. And Jack expanded it to offensive linemen in general and was like, well, we've seen offensive linemen traded when Ezra Cleveland was traded and when Dwayne Brown was traded. Ezra Cleveland was a couple of years ago. Dwayne Brown was back in like 2017, I believe. What did both of those guys have in common, Ryan? Do you remember?
No idea. I don't.
We're pulling historical data here. I know. Both of those guys were starting level offensive linemen that got hurt and were out for multiple weeks, IR stints. And a replacement player, a depth piece, came in and performed and played up to the bill of a starting caliber player. And by the time Brown or Cleveland actually returned to action and were ready to play again, it would have actually been disrupting the cohesion of the starting offensive line at that point if they let that guy come in and take over. So to maintain the cohesion, they went ahead and traded away those guys to get what they could. Really interesting scenario that could play out if the Chargers decide to pursue someone like Lucas Patrick, who's returning from injury for the Bengals, who has been, I wouldn't say replaced yet, but the backup pieces have done very well. Anybody else that comes to mind for you,
because they had, if I'm right, the backup was the rookie Fairchild, and then he got injured last week, and the backup was Dalton Risner. So that was a backup to a backup. So yeah, they've got a real right guard, like, you know, Hall. So yeah, they could do, and you know, they're definitely a seller right now. So yeah, I think that as much as Joe Flacco might save him, he won't. But yeah, definitely could be a seller.
People are going to think that we just revolve our podcast around Dalton Risner and how I can sneak ways in to talk about him. But here we are again.
He's actually the sponsor of today's pod.
Oh man. So yeah, so I mean that, I don't know if there's going to be enough value out there at tackle. I mean, I'm suggesting them pick up a guard, which could allow them to flex Becton out to tackle if they need to, or just solidify the interior because Becton's been in and out so much. But I don't know if they're going to do it, knowing that Alt's going to come back. Maybe we just hold the fort and really hope that he comes back in the next couple weeks and that Pipkins comes back, or that Sawyer can get flexed out to tackle.
Joe practiced today, like practice. So like that's a big surprise for me already compared to Omar and Hampton had a similar injury and everyone's talking about 5-6 weeks with him. So that is really surprising and positive. I'm not expecting him to play this week or probably next week, but pushing towards mid-season, that's a good target to return. Let's look at the other side of the Justina Anderson news, which was we weren't just looking to trade for tackles, we're also looking at running backs. The first thing I want to say is that the whole Vidal played well thing. Yes, he did absolutely play well, but it was against the Dolphins front, which let's just say that will be teach tape that no one will watch. So you don't want to be stuck going, oh look what we did. We in England we call it the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer phenomenon. So he was a manager for Man United. He won about 8 games out of 10 in a row, but they were the worst opposition he could have physically played. They gave him a 3-year contract extension, said he was our future, and within a year I think he was gone, and within 6 months they'd already regretted that. You don't give contracts when you're happy. So with Vidal, we don't want to miss the boat on trading for a running back. So I'm glad that the news is still out there before and after the game. And we kind of want a bigger back as well, because Haskins is, he's like the Bradley Bozeman of running backs, except he's better. It's just that he's got the intangibles, he works hard, he'll lead block 60 yards down the field for your boy. But I don't think he's quite got the running back skills that are going to take us over the top until Marion gets back. So, Kyle, have you got names in the bank ready to load for this one?
Well, similar to what we're talking about with the linemen, sometimes you look at somebody either returning from injury or maybe a guy returning from not being signed, and then randomly they activate him and he does amazing. I'm talking about Judkins, of course, but it's kind of pushed Jerome Ford out. And the Browns are now at a position where they kind of have a plethora of backs, assuming they don't want to give us Rocket Sanders back. So which I don't think they want to do anytime soon.
I don't want to trade for a guy we cut. That would be so depressing.
No, you can't. You can't do it. You absolutely. I was hoping that they'd put him on the practice squad at some point and we could go and do a stealing like they did to us. But no, it is what it is. But Jerome Ford, big back. He has been productive. He can handle a good workload. So that's an option, and he could probably be had really cheaply. Another option, which where I'm going to go with this, Ryan, because again, it's like I really like to recycle from Kyle's bad takes basket. But I really thought
they'll come good one day.
They'll come good one day, man. Yeah, these freaking railroad bonds I had, they're gonna pay off, man. They're gonna take off. Audric Estime has been released by the Eagles, the big man out of Notre Dame, and he's one of those guys, Ryan. With the position we're in right now, where we need a workhorse back, we need somebody to come in and be be almost a bell cow. Sure, Vidal's great and all, like he did show out right there, but I would love to give a guy like Audric Estime a little bit of runway to show what he can do with the NFL. Because when he played for Notre Dame, he was one of those guys that got better with volume. Just like what we saw with Hampton, when even Hampton in this split backfield, we're not leaning on him yet situation, we just saw flashes. And then when he got more and more carries and was able to really pound a defense, all of a sudden he took off. With us having a barren situation right now at running back, I'd be like, man, let's bring in that big man, see if he can wear him down. It seems like we have an offense that fits his style of play. And if it works out, great. We have a hammer to pair with Hampton. If not, we haven't really lost much. It's a low-risk gamble in my mind. What do you think, man?
It's very low cost and also just a very Hortiz acquisition. I know every time you get hit, First thing I'll say, he's been cut twice already this season. That's always a little bit concerning.
Absolutely.
But, the fact that he is available, other people have tried. Our coaches are anything if not arrogant in terms of we can fix him. Which is, I find that it's a good trait to have in a coach, as long as you don't go overboard. Alex Leatherwood. And, yeah, so I... So I wasn't a big fan of... I'm not a big fan of his Estime's tape, and the fact that he's had a bit of concerns, but like you said, it's so low cost that it could be a smart move, especially if Hampton's going to be returning in a month's time. Other names I've seen bounded about, Devin Singletary we saw firsthand. He can break runs. It's explosive in the slightest, but they call him motor for a reason. He also does well with volume. Then you got two types I don't really see as a fit, but Jalen Wright and Keaton Mitchell have both not been themselves at their current teams in their current state. So Mitchell coming back from a long-term injury, and Jalen Wright has not. I don't think he's been active for the Dolphins, despite being a third-round running back. I adored his tape, Tennessee, and I drafted him in every league, every dynasty league I'm in, and he's not even touched the field. So yeah. Then, because I know we're in our first segment, we're way into this pod. So yeah, Zack Moss is my shout for this. He carried the load well for the Colts when Jonathan Taylor came back from it, was injured, and so Zack Moss held his ground until he came back. Then he hurt his back, and he's not really been the same since. But then again, I will always bet on the Bengals' ineptitude. So we pair him with Lucas Patrick, maybe we got something. So Bill Barnwell put out two trade proposals, and I think they're so cheap. I just say yes straight away, but I want to hear what a GM says. So it was Jerome Ford and a 2027 7th for a 2027 6th. So that typical day 3 pick swap, and Evan Neal from the Giants and a 2028 7th rounder for a 2028 6th rounder. You could theoretically do both of these. So if are you going to pick 1, 0, 1, 2, or none?
So if you're asking Kyle, whose wife is from, went to Notre Dame and swam there for 4 years and has some sweet championship bling in the living room from her days as a swimmer. Yeah, hell yeah, babe.
Got that right.
I would absolutely not do the first one, so we could go sign Estime, but you're not asking if Kyle would do this. You're asking if a GM should do this. And yes, Hortiz should absolutely pull the trigger on a pick swap in 2027 to get Jerome Ford. Why? Even though we just talked about how low risk Estime would be, that's about as low risk as you get. A day 3 pick swap. And they're going to want somebody, and you've seen it so far, Ryan. You've seen that, even though they might be lured by the maybe I can fix him look at it, but really they like vets that have some proven experience, success, especially in a year where the team's doing well. We're not in a position where we need to be holding tryouts because we're looking towards the future. We want to win right now, and Jerome Ford's just in a better position to do that. I think you could even ask, could we afford to pick up both? Because the running back room's so decimated. We might be able to.
Well, Bill Barnwell has split it out so we could get both. I just personally don't think I see Hortiz parting ways for draft capital for a running back. I think it's more like who can we probe and pry to see if they're going to move on from someone, and we can get them like even cheaper than that. I don't know how you get cheaper than that, but somehow cheaper than that.
But I love the Neal trade though, Ryan. I think the Neal trade is brilliant. I think that's something that the only thing that bums me out about go for it.
I've seen enough tape of his. I've got a good friend, my mate Andoni. He's a Giants fan, and he sends me tape of Evan Neal just with the crying face, just him, just two arms going, and Bozeman, but worse because he's out on an island. It looks even worse. So yeah, but he can play tackle and guard. That's a bit of upside. I'm trying to be positive here in case it does happen. I don't want that tape out there of me going no, like the Bobby Hart take.
Yeah. But he was a better run blocker than a pass blocker, right? I've read that he actually had some pretty redeeming run blocking reps that I'm trying to lean on for some positivity, but I could totally be off base too.
I'm just thinking
I haven't broken down his tape at all.
I just think Alabama. Just try and make myself smile with that. Ooh, former Alabama. It's good. Makes a little tingle. But yeah.
So yeah, whatever they do decide to do, I've beaten this take over again, returning to my bin, but I would still be looking at both tackles and guards because you got to consider that Mekhi Becton can be pushed out to tackle if we need, if we can get the best 5 out there by bringing in a guard upgrade, you got to consider it. But if they find a tackle, great. But I just wouldn't close the door on somebody like Patrick. But anyway, moving on from that, let's just dive into the game review because we're already 21 minutes into this bad boy. So let's, Miami Dolphins. Chargers go to the East Coast. They wake up early, which is, supposedly our kryptonite from time to time. But man, what a crazy game. Bunch of lead changes. Defense really came to play and kept us in it. And Justin Herbert, once again, is going to be just a media darling because he's either garbage and isn't doing enough to carry his team, or he's literally having Herculean efforts being put on display, and you get these quote tweets about how I've never seen this done. I've never seen a quarterback do this. The gap that is bridged with this terrible thing called social media and Justin Herbert's play is insane. But once again, he was godly. So what do you think, Ryan? What were some of your key takeaways from the game?
I mean, first of all, Justin Herbert's social media. If you see that in someone's tweet, just mute them and live a more peaceful life. That's what I found. I haven't seen an 8 show quote in about a year. So just move on. Make yourself happier. Right, and in terms of the game, my biggest thing on offense was that we saw Greg Roman do something that I don't think we've seen him do before, for the Chargers anyway, which is quick passing game. I didn't know... Personally, I have a copy of his playbook, and there's nothing in there about quick passing games, so that is genuinely new. So, I mean, the drive to open the second half, I literally got up after the touchdown, shook my wife's shoulders. I was like, that's how you play offense. And she was like, get off me. And then I went down and wrote down everything I could remember about it. 6 passes came in under 3 seconds. The drive not only ended in 7 points, but it took 7 minutes and 34 seconds off the clock. And what it did is it set the game up from there in terms of the pressure. So in the first half, Justin Herbert's time to throw was 2.57 seconds. After that opening drive of the third quarter, the time to throw was 4.08. Simply because their quick game means they can't blitz. There's no point in blitzing because you're just going to leave people open. And Herbert was opening it up by just going, you know what? I'm going to do something I don't normally do here. I'm not going to go, what is the ultimate best concept here? I'm going to take a leaf out of Jackson Dart's book and I'm going to throw where the pressure came from. They're throwing man blitzes. I'm going to throw exactly where that man blitz has come from. I don't care who you're rotating down there. And Tre Harris, I'll give him real credit here because he was smart enough to read those blitzes in sync with Herbert. And that's something we're really excited to see in a rookie. That's not something you see into his second, third year, unless you're Keenan, who had it from day one, and someone like Tre as well. Even Ladd took 4 or 5 weeks to warm up into it. So you can see there that the coaching from Sanjay Lau and the synergy with Herbert is developing quickly.
Well, hang on. You made a connection there without realizing it, I think. Do you know what it is? Who did you compare Justin Herbert to?
Jackson Dart. Oh, yeah. Ole Miss, yeah.
So maybe there's a little bit of synergy for him having done that with Jackson at Ole Miss. Who knows?
That's true. Yeah, that air raid, RPO heavy system. Next thing you know, Justin Herbert's going to be that they're clapping. So, yeah. What did you think, man?
And I apologize to our listeners. That was poor wording on my part. Ryan didn't compare Justin Herbert to Jackson Dart.
I was
just saying he was doing one similar thing. Okay, one similar thing.
Hey, but hey, they're both white and they both have long hair. Yeah.
No. Bad. But no, I totally agree. He looked decisive. He took command. He was looking confident, pushing the ball vertically on all of his other throws that weren't necessarily those quick reads. But the quick game is very much a part of the system rather than a change of pace. And if they can continue doing that, it'll serve them well with both the play calling and quarterbacking, just really being able to unlock the run game and reduce the amount of those 3 and outs that we've had. And hopefully, like you said, with that long drive, increase our time of possession and punish teams when they do try to blitz us. Because as we've seen, they're going to try to blitz us with how our offensive line's playing.
Exactly. I mean, well said, man. You have to give Roman credit. It kept ending in 3 points, but you have to remember, and this is kind of a little shout out to Al from TDU, put up a little tweet and followed it up with something on his podcast to basically talk about how Harbour is pretty conservative when it comes to decisions, and I agree. However, in this game specifically, and you have to look at game context when you look at these things. I'm sorry, I love the computer cowboy, or the cowboy computer, in terms of that decision making. It's a fantastic bit of math science. But at the end of the day, that scoreboard pressure of keeping to put 3 points on the board mean that the Dolphins could not run the ball. Yeah, they can't rely on that run. They opened up the second half by running almost, I think it was like 7 or 8 times in a row from the exact same formation, using the exact same motion, and that would usually mean, oh, we're going to overthink this. No, we could just stack the box and just hit that run. Just protect it. And obviously you see when you go into a light box, we're going to go into that a bit later, like that. It was an issue because like we just can't fit it. If we're in pass formation and we try and fit the run, it doesn't really work. So that scoreboard pressure helps alleviate that. I may as well go into it now, and bear with me because this is a little bit to explain. I'm going to explain why the Chargers run defenses which looks so shoddy over the last 3 weeks. Carl's laughing because he's seen what I've written down, and let's just say it could be a small novel. So
Ryan is passionate. He's very passionate.
I went in and I talked to some other coaches and analysts, including my man Stefan from Thinking Football, and we basically worked out what it exactly is going on with Minter's scheme. And I highlighted a little bit in my video last week. The end part of it was that offensive coordinators are basically using weak side power and counter to blow the Chargers' run fits open. The Chargers run what's called a minus run fit, which is when they have less men than they do gaps. And the way you play that is by cheating gaps, by using techniques and alignment to basically have 2 people play 2 gaps at once. The way that people have broken that is with what's called a nub formation, where you have trips on one side and then you have one person on their own, not on the sideline, but as close to the formation as they can be. If it's a tight end, they will be in line. Yeah, obviously formation, they have to be covering the tackle in that situation, but that's what you call a nub formation. And what's been breaking it is basically shotgun runs from there. Now, in shotgun runs, you have 2 options. From a nub formation, you have it, the running back is on the tight end side, the nub side, that's called a stack. And if he's on the other side, he's in a 4 strong because he's connecting with the 3 receivers over here. From 2 high shells, there's only 2 ways to play this. Yeah, there's against 4 strong, you play Sky Force, which is cover 3 brace principle, with the corner playing the deep third and the safety coming down to fit whichever hole is open against the front, which I'll get into. When that happens as well, the safety is also playing the flats. So he's coming downhill, he's playing that gap or the flats. And on the other side of it, you have Cloud Force, which is when the corner has a gap assignment, usually outside gap, and the safety will play over the top. That is what you call cover 2 principles, right? In Minter's first 22 games as a DC, or 23, depending on when I was talking about this, this will work beautifully in cohesion, but with that triangle between the defensive end, or the outside linebacker, whoever's on the line, the safety in the corner. But the issue has come because that personnel is not the same, and with a Mac out, it's been a big impact. And there is also one person on the team who I think has been playing very well overall, but teams are targeting, that's Dante Jackson. So I think Carl will also agree that he's been playing really well in terms of stopping screens, tackles to the flats, stuff outside the hashes. But what he's not doing is he will not attack inside. He's not Cam Hart. He's not Tarheeb Still. He's not brave enough. He's not big enough. I'm sure he'll disagree with me. And offensive coordinator has been manipulating the Chargers into the looks that they want by using motion. So they motion a man. You'll see the Commanders did it a few times. They motioned the man over and away, and they took Jackson out of the picture altogether. Yeah, and then the Chargers' run fit was 1 short. They then adjust to it. The linebackers don't have that communication to handle it. When you combine that with the lack of aggressive edge setting play, now if you go back to the Chiefs game, I've got clips of it which I'm going to tweet later because I've been saving them. You can see Mac, the moment he sees a puller, he slams down into them. He doesn't hesitate. He's so quick and so strong that he just blows through 2 of them, 3 of them sometimes. He did that twice against the Chiefs, and to great effect because that's a concept the Chiefs wanted to run out against us as well. It didn't work. But the issue is you got lack of aggressive edge setting, no proper linebacker play from the outside guys. So Derwin is playing linebacker at the moment, and Troy Dye is playing the other outside linebacker position. And Henry's in the middle. He can't get over it. He's the backside fill. Anyway, enough of that. You basically put it all together and you get a full-blown problem. Like that, you know, there are irrelevant elements to it, but that's the crux of it, really. So, yeah.
So how do you think that gets solved in the meantime before Mac comes back, Ryan?
It's the personnel matters, yeah. So Perriman's practicing. So sorry, he looks like ready to go. I think he almost went to the last game, right? And then Mac is starting again, which is great news. But the answer lies in the schematics and the people returning. Jesse Minter's whole system has been predicated on the fact that you'd be able to fit these minus run fits here, and he slams down the edges with Khalil Mack. The team has tried Thule to do that. He's been a really good player during this period, but he has not been the same. He does not attack, and neither do the corners on the outside. I would argue that Dante Jackson could actually be benched for this because he has been that liable, and teams are just... And it's not like you can just go in and just go, okay, Jackson's on the field, we're going to make sure we can't do that. If they motion someone over and you're in man coverage, he's got to move. He's got to bump inside. That's just the rules. So they can't really, unless he's going to swap out to safety like you see at college. So... But he's been playing so well in coverage, you don't really want to do that. I'd actually advocate for him to play less snaps this next week, especially against the Colts. So, and the other issue is I've been really disappointed with Troy Dye's play, I have to say. I've seen people giving him shout-outs for his high tackle numbers and grade, but I really think he's lacking in his run fits. He does not step down. He doesn't cross the guard's face. And neither does Derwin, because let's be honest, Derwin's not trained as a linebacker. So, he's an all-pro talent, and he's fantastic, but when you're trained to go backwards with your first step, it's really hard to change that and be downhill attacking without thinking blitz. You've got to be both.
Ryan, obviously it's not going to be completely solve the issue. Denzel Perryman returning is going to place him, between the tackles. He's not really going to be setting the edge at all, but that might put Henley where Troy's playing right now. How will that work out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, look, you said it, and I think that's where Dion responds well to Perriman's leadership. Not just in terms of communication and stuff, but he's thinking, I've got my man back there. If I go downhill, someone's going to have my back, the backside fill. And it also suits Perriman because he's not the fastest he once was, but he loves coming back, seeing a running back, looking that way, then step into the crease and he plants them. Love that. The big thing is here that I feel like we've got to lean into the strength of our team. So right now, our strength of our defense is our interior defensive line rotation. So, our boy Jamari Caldwell, he actually outsnapped every other defensive player last week, which is amazing to see. So, and then you got Naquan Jones, Justin Aboigbe, Tia Tart, all playing really well. Ogbonia is Ogbonia. I don't want to see him activated over Naquan Jones again. That was a real mistake. But the positive news is Minter knows this too. So over the last 6 weeks, we started the season in Chargers base personnel is 3-4, so that's 3 defensive linemen, 2 outside linebackers down on the line and 2 linebackers in behind it. That's a heavier front. We don't usually play that. We usually heavier nickel base. So our base 3-4 numbers with 2 linebackers on the field were 7% in week 1, 6% in week 2, 12% week 3, 15, 32, and 29% the last 2 weeks. So Minter has done, which is a league-wide meta, by the way, responding to how because this isn't just a Chargers problem. Too high is being attacked by weak side counter a lot. And that's pulling guys to the weak side, overloading, because everyone's playing pass first. And people, like especially the Lions, the Chiefs, they're really heavy on base personnel, and Minter's starting to follow it, and the results are proving. Despite the problems with the run on the weekend against the Dolphins, the Chargers had a negative 0.37 EPA from heavy that 3-4 personnel against the run, which is really positive to see. It's just a mal about how he marries the pass with that, and that is a job for Minter and not me. So I think I have absolutely rabbited on about the personnel and the scheme for long enough, so I think we should get to our player shout-out, man. What do you think?
You got it, brother. You got it. All right, we're jumping right into it. Okay, number 1. I was really impressed with Odafe Gadsden again. I think he bounced back, after a big fumble, which was a huge bummer. And I believe the week before, he kind of had a quiet week as well, right? He's, typical rookie up and down type stuff, especially for a guy that is, towards the bottom of the depth chart at a spot position that was filled with, some vets that have had, one that had familiarity with Herbert already and one that has been successful somewhere else. For him to be carving out a role is incredible. But he really did show out this week that bounced back from a bummer situation early in the game and continues to impress with his athleticism and his willingness to block. So I really think the sky's the limits for that kid. What about you, Ryan?
Well, just on the back of Gadsden, they've literally benched Conklin for him now. That was proven. Yeah, Conklin was sat. He had 3 snaps. He was sat watching. He obviously did his part when he came on, but I love that Gadsden. You could see him head in hands. I said to my wife, I'm like, oh God, I hope someone just picks him up and hugs him, because he looked like he was going through the ringer. And credit to Roman and Harbaugh for just Herbert for just hitting the button, just going, I don't care. You better get back out there, because it was a great route. It was a great move. You just don't do that in the NFL. Don't fight on the ground. Go down, live for the next play. My next play is a similar story in that Tre Harris, he may not be getting the numbers, but the quick game that we mentioned is right there. And everyone has mentioned it. Like, anyone with access to all 22 is going, this is the first thing I see on film. Tre Harris's blocking is fantastic. And I don't get it, because at Ole Miss, they did not do it. They don't block. The wide receivers don't block. They run away. They take the corners out of the equation so that they can run outside on RPOs. And he's a monster. He's folding inside. He's inserting. No one is inserted in Greg Roman's offense. I'm talking literally no one apart from, if you're wearing a 40 number, insert blocks. So that's where you run out from the inside and you fold in and you kick up one of the B or the C gap. And he's doing it, and he's kicking guys out. He's taking on, like, Jalen Phillips. Like, honestly, so impressive. So yeah, I'm gonna give you some space to talk about some other guys. So yeah, you go for it.
Beautiful. Good game, Trey. I was listening to Matt Money Smith's post game on his podcast. I don't know if you've listened to that one, Ryan, but it's really fun. Yeah. He cracks a beer. He has a rule where he'll crack one. We've got to do this. This has to be. We're gonna steal this gimmick. Maybe I'll crack 2 beers. Okay, what you do, Money, I'm gonna double. He cracks a beer and he answers fans' questions live for the duration of his beer. And he slow sips it. Okay. It's like 40 to 45 minutes. It's really cool. And like, as they're getting to the end,
that's a warm beer.
Oh yeah. It probably tastes like piss, man. But it's a lot of fun, and he's very open and transparent about a lot of stuff, which I really appreciate. And he was mentioning that pregame, Derwin James had gone up to Mekhi Becton and was kind of giving him, it looked like a little bit more of a stern, kind of like, hey, we got to do this or that, like kind of trying to motivate him and kind of assert himself as a leader. And what Money thought it was, from his impression, was like him saying, because he doesn't think Derwin's right. He thinks Derwin's fighting some sort of injury and playing through something, and that's why his missed tackle rate's a little higher right now. But he was like, he thinks that he was saying to Mekhi, like, look, I've got this going on. I'm banged up. I know you're banged up, but we need you. We can't be rotating our offensive line in and off the field all game. We need you to play this game out. He said it looked like that kind of conversation happened. And then Mekhi went out and played his first, is that his first full slate?
Yeah.
I think he played the
his first
game.
Full game, I think, yeah.
Okay, so that's, huge. If that is what happened and Derwin is being that kind of leader, where he's not just being the rah guy that we know he is and can be, bringing the energy. If he's actually holding guys accountable and they're responding to it, man, Derwin James, you continue to impress, my man. So my hat goes out to both of those guys. I wouldn't like Becton to have to be talked to like that to play a full game. So I'm hedging here, Ryan. I'm hedging. Either Derwin's a good leader or Becton finally got his shit together, and either way I'm happy. Because we can't keep doing that rotation at right guard.
The fact that he responded either angrily to it, in like, oh, F you, I'm gonna play the whole game now, and I'm gonna play with my hair on fire, or he actually accepted criticism, is either way good. Yeah. So I'm gonna be an eternal optimist like you. My next one is Naquan Jones. Why he was made inactive is beyond me, because there's nothing on tape at all that shows that Ogbonnia deserved to have a shot over him. Maybe they promised Ogbonnia that they were gonna rotate them if he showed up in practice and he had a good week of practice, and maybe maybe Naquan was a little bit lazy in practice. But he was outstanding against the run once again, and I just need to see more of him, more consistency. The Guilty Charge guys said that maybe it's like the Tart thing. They want to trust their guys first. Ogbonnia's been in longer. They're going to give them a chance to fight it out the whole way, and then eventually they're going to go, you know what, Naquan is way better. Let's just keep him on the field. I don't know, but either way, it can't happen again. The difference with him running on the run versus not on the field, it was big, and yeah, a part of a rotation is good. And when Hines back, I think Ogbonnia should be the one that's inactive. Yeah. Have you got another one?
Like it, man. Yep. Two guys showed a lot of hustle. You already mentioned one of them. But Zion Johnson and Hassan Haskins were running so hard trying to get downfield and assist our running game. And those are the kind of things this is a career year for Zion. It might not be a Pro Bowl level season for him to this point, but he's playing the best ball we've seen. He's playing with emotion. He's playing with a high motor, and I'm loving it. He was charging downfield. I forget what play it was on. I just remember seeing him streaking, trying to get downfield.
It was the game winner. It was the game winner.
There you go. Yeah, you're right. You're right. He caught up to him. And then Hassan Haskins, much of the same thing. And I wonder, Ryan, at some point, I've been talking to you about this for a while, offline or off pod online, and wondering why this Greg Roman scheme wants to convert defensive tackles into fullbacks so badly. When you have running backs that convert to fullbacks all the time, just do what you were doing before with the ball in your hand, but we want you to lead block instead. Just run to that gap and blow somebody up. Hassan Haskins looks like the kind of guy, like in his scouting report, it was initially reported that he'd probably be transitioning. He'd probably be best suited to be a lead blocking fullback. Might not have been in all scouting reports, but it's something I read again and again. And I was hoping that we would target him back then because of that. Because I love my favorite Charger of all time is Lorenzo Neal. And I will forever try to find that high again. I talked to you about potentially targeting Estime before he was released. Like, is that a guy we could bring on with his explosiveness, with his 0 to 10 speed? Because he doesn't have top speed, but he has really strong acceleration. Is he somebody that would benefit after getting cut a second time now from transitioning and trying to be more of a lead blocker? I don't know. But those two both deserve a lot of props. Sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
No, I was just going to say off the back of that a lot of Greg Roman's playbook has, in fact, the original base in 2013 was pony personnel, which is crazy, which is 2 backs, 1 tight end. So, and it wasn't a fullback, it was just 2 backs, split backs, or in odd formations. But the idea was that you didn't know which one was going to lead block and which one was going to hit the hole. So you could genuinely have Haskins and Hampton when he's back on the field at the same time, and you don't know which way it's going to go, because Haskins can carry the ball. He's not like a fullback who has to go like, oh, I like hitting people, sometimes give me the rock. No, he's used to having that ball in his hand. So it's an interesting idea that I'd like to see. He's not the guy I'm shouting out next, and I'm doing a normal me and cheating, but Fisk is so much better at Matlock's role, and I don't get it. Like, I don't. Like, someone's going to have to, one day, 10 years in the future, be like, hey, Greg, what did you see in Matlock? Did you just see like a big screaming ginger that you thought looked cool? Like, because what are you doing, man? Oh, anyway. And my last little hidden character, we call him, player shoutouts, is Benjamin St. Just. That interception, someone I saw that, was it Eric Smith? Asked him, what did you see there? And he recalled the big play that he let up on 3rd and 16 against the Commanders, the dig route from his cover 3. And he was like, yeah, I recognised the concept and just went on a dig. To do that in-game, 1 game later, is a tough thing to do. So, and the timing it takes, I tweeted this at the time, but the timing it takes to jump over someone's shoulder, underhand the ball with your right hand, very difficult. And that's his second career interception, which, by the way, Tony Jefferson also had a second career interception. How's he only had 2? He's had like 8 in preseason for the Chargers. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Second career INT. I thought he had 2 in the last 2 weeks. But yeah, so yeah, with Ben St. credit to him. And I really like that he is just balling. Like, he's coming on, he's rotating, and he's playing. He's just saying, I'm just gonna do me. And I'm happy to see a player take that attitude, especially with the criticism he got online before he even played a snap. So yeah, I'm very happy with that.
Awesome, man. Well, that's a good set of player shout outs. So let's move on to our Colts preview, and then we'll get on to our player challenges after that. So, Ryan, when you're scouting the Colts, I would have to think you start with the guy that is currently in talks to be potentially an MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Jonathan Taylor, and the offensive line. Where are you going to guide us, Ryan?
My observation has to be Tyler Warren. When you watch film, you're like, this is a rookie? Like, and I did scouting report. I had him and Loveland 1A, 1B because it's pick your type. And it turns out that Ben Johnson chose wrong, because him with Ben Johnson would have been absolutely hilariously fun. But let's just say this. in your scouting, your scripted play to open the first 15 plays of the game, you're telling the story of what you want to do by probing and testing different things. They go, how the hell are you going to play Tyler Warren? And we'll build the game plan from there. They literally give him about 5 or 6 targets within the first 15 plays. Each game. Because they're like, how you play him is how you tell us what you're going to do. So credit to him. Like, he's been incredible. He does everything as well. Some people have highlighted the little shovel counter thing. And if you watched his tape at Penn State, he was playing Wildcat quarterback doing the same thing. He's got running back footwork at 240 pounds. Crazy. But yeah, I think that Shane Steichen has absolutely maximised himself with Tyler Warren at the helm. And how we play him is going to dictate the game. So, Minter, it's on to you, bro. Yeah, that's my big take.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that Taylor is the one that you see stealing kind of the spotlight a little bit, just with how well he's playing and what the yardage totals that he's putting up. But Tyler Warren, man, that guy, I mean, you talked about Brock Bowers coming out and how when it comes time for him to get extended, like, he needs to be looked at as a wide receiver, essentially, because he's so productive as a wide receiver. Or he puts up production as if he was a wide receiver. Warren is like this other side of this hybrid tight end where it's like, dude, like, you are legitimately, you could be the best tight end on the field, the best running back on the field. like what don't you do, man? The guy is like a whole different breed as well. And it's very cool seeing another crop of generational tight end talent coming through as we see guys like Kelsey fading off the back end, Hawkinson fading away a bit. Like, we're getting some very strong tight ends. What was that?
No, it's like, yeah, it's just been a shame to see Hawkinson slip off since he went to the Vikings. I was such a fan. So yeah. I mean, you have to give Steichen the credit because he knows how to use them, right? And it's not just that. His scheme is like, yeah, it's so many concepts in once. He's like got a system all of his own. You know when they said Kellen Moore, I'm a bit of everything, and then it was kind of nothing of everything. Steichen is the absolute opposite of that. He's taken the best bits from the best offenses and he runs them better than them. So like, he runs 4 strong, insert, boot and flash. He runs them all in 12 personnel, spread out 11 personnel, pseudo 13 looks. Minter's going to have to match him. Like, you can't rotate all those guys in. So I hope he sticks in a base personnel a little bit more. And like I said, play the run. Play the run first. And, you know, we have Derwin. If you can just let him follow Tyler Warren, that might be the best ploy. Because trying to match him through condensed splits, bunches, stacks, spread out, they put him on the sideline sometimes for fun. Like, how do you match that when you're playing zone? So, plus they have so much talent on that side of the ball. I mean, they made A.D. Mitchell inactive, their 2nd round pick. So, yeah, 2 years ago. Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about 2 positionless players duking it out there. That'd be a lot of fun to see. Mm-hmm. Sounds like basically what you're saying is Steichen is hit on basically every modern offensive concept and turned it into a fun offense, which, ironically, you know, Daniel Jones coming over from the Giants, who somehow he's went from looking like Eli Face, New York Giants quarterback, and now is looking like a very legit starter. Keep staying in rhythm with that offense. Now, Ryan, if personally, you're the coach, man, but if I were Minter, you got Perryman coming back. That's already going to be hopefully setting a very strong anchor in that middle of our defense and penetrating some gaps in the run D. I feel like you got to stack the box and try to shut down Jonathan Taylor. Hopefully, while stacking the box, you do have Derwin on Tyler, and that kind of helps with that battle as well. And if they beat us deep, they beat us deep. But I'm going to put this one on, Still and Jackson to make sure we don't get burned deep, give him some opportunities to make some plays on some balls. And if Daniel Jones beats us, if Daniel Jones beats us, I'll live with that.
Yeah, you live with, that's the thing. I don't think he's got the arm to play right over the top. Not the arm and the accuracy, He missed a few throws over the last few weeks in that kind of range. And yeah, like you said, you live with that. It's not Minter's style, and I highly doubt it, but I think we're going to see a lot more cover 3, so the corners will be in isolation. It's about how you play. And yeah, I'd want to see a little bit more partnership of Still and Jackson. They don't normally play together. I mean, that could work nicely, especially as Josh Downs is looking like he's out still with concussion. So they lack the explosive speed element. They got Alec Pierce. Sorry, he's underrated.
Yeah.
But in terms, I think he's more of like a gradual speed. He's not like a sudden. He's a 4.3 guy, but I don't think it's sudden. I feel like his long build up speed. So if you can get a pass rush there in time, then it's a worthy gamble. On the other side of the ball, I think their weakness at corner and second linebacker spot is where you target them, and we saw from Roman the quick game is where you do it. You know, against the Dolphins, that quick game negated funky looks. You know, you can't rotate round your defensive lineman in stunts. You don't have the time to do that. The ball's out before they can even switch. And Luan Arumo's going crazy with this stuff. Did you know this? I didn't say this to you in our chat before. He had Ashton Dulin, the wide receiver, run a blitz concept on defense last week.
No way.
Yeah.
How'd that work out?
So he ran the loop. He would have got home, but the ball was out pretty quickly.
Wow.
But they apparently told him in a team meeting before the game that you're going to be playing, and everyone went nuts because apparently he's deserved it. He's their like key gunner, so they know he can like run that loop and play physical. The irony is he got hurt on the play, so I'm not sure they'll be doing it again. But it does negate that, and also, you know, Zaire Franklin is a force when he's healthy. I think you don't want to let that front get rolling, so keeping them off balance by throwing quick game over and over will help set up the rest of the game.
And I'm guessing if, you know, we were in Greg Roman's shoes, we'd want to kind of flip the script on them, possibly running it Troy Dye, what's been happening to us lately, and attack their second linebacker spot, because they just signed Jermaine Pratt off the street, and he had 11 tackles recently, so that could be a spot to try to target. It's not what you want to be in. That's not the position you want to be in as a defensive coordinator, having to start a linebacker that was signed right off the street, right? So that should be pretty
11 tackles might be good for fantasy football, but let's just say I don't think Troy Dye's been playing well, and he's been our leader in terms of defensive points on fantasy
There you
football.
go.
It's usually your weakest player that gets a lot of tackles.
Yeah.
Like fantasy football, are you playing defensive players? If you're a sicko like me, you're in an IDP salary cap league. Try that. I run it. Anyway, if you're in one of those, you draft the worst corner you can find. The worst corner that's going to stay on the field. Yeah, because they get the most tackles.
There you go. Beautiful. So let's go ahead and move on to player challenges, man. My first player challenge would have to be, we're going to follow up with who one of my player shoutouts was. I've said this to you a couple times this season, Ryan, that when he is on the field, it looks like he is the second most important offensive lineman we have. Mekhi Becton, things kind of start and end with him being on the field and playing well, because he's anchoring down and supporting a weak right tackle spot right now, and adds that length a little bit and pass protection that kind of not negates, but helps make up for a sieve to his left coming from the center position. That good old just wide open A gap. So that's who I'm looking to
take a pick.
Yeah. So that's who I'm looking to see turn things or see who I want to challenge to stay on the field all game, because if he does, I'm confident he will have a good game. What about you, buddy? Nice. Who's your first challenge?
It's a little bit off to the left field. Navarro Bowman. I always see when your linebackers are all...
I like it.
Yeah. You know, when all your linebackers are singing earlier in the season, you know, you've got them hyped during the preseason, you're getting them to understand their P's and Q's. It's quite easy, but when linebackers are in a bit of a rut, which I'm counting Derwin there in the linebacker position. Nick still think he's playing fantastic football, and people can counter me if they want, but generally go put on the tape. But with the linebackers, Troy Dye really not hitting the backside run fill. You know, Darren Henley looks a shadow of himself in terms of how he was at the first few games this season. Now, I will say I think his pass defense has massively improved. He had some really great reps against the Dolphins that negated some of what they were trying to do over the top of him. But in run defense, he's still not there. And, you know, putting those guys together, you've got guys on the backups. if they're not be able to get on the field for a few snaps, that's telling me it's something as a coach. So you as a coach need to step up and tell your players exactly what reads they need to be making in a light box system. You can't afford to be taking a read step. You know, it's bang, go to the front side, bang goes, or peel off to the back side. That's it. You don't have time to think. So it's on him to get the players from here to here.
I like it. And my second one's going to be Mickens, man. He had some good plays last week, or good tackling.
Nice thumps,
came in and laid some lumber. I just want to see him clean up a little bit of coverage and continue to play that run very well. So I think when we look back at the trade for, I don't know how to say his name properly.
Odafe Oweh.
Odafe Oweh. Odafe, okay. Odafe Oweh. When we went and made that trade, it was predicated on Mickens being able to hold the fort if there is an injury or something like that. We were able to make that trade because we believe in him. So I just want to see that trade. If I have to say goodbye to my buddy Alohi, I want to see it be worth it and make sense based on how he plays. So that would be my last player shout out. Ryan, who do you have to wrap it up?
Mine's going to be a slightly interesting one, because obviously he had a fantastic game, which is Kamani Vidal. He's obviously going to be getting more touches this week, and he cannot just bounce out every single run. Now, I really respect his athletic ability to get outside, especially some of his cuts laterally were magical, covered a lot of ground in one step. It's really difficult to do, but everyone's going to be expecting you to bounce outside now. They're going to be filling outside. You know, the Colts have got some big edges. You've got to get inside a gap and run the crease. Yeah, Al's probably screaming at me right now because he prefers backs that dance and spin. You know, look like ballerinas out there. I prefer guys who are going to keep you on schedule. As an offensive, I literally listen to my offensive coordinator scream at his backs. Like, I don't need 10 yards every snap. I need 3 and 4. You know, give me the yards I give to your line of giving to you. Stop trying to create highlight reel plays on the outside. And in a game where we're going to be in a likely shootout, you know, you've got to stay on pace and sustain drives. Yeah. We can't afford to be in third and long all the time. So, yeah. Respect you, Kamani. Next level. Let's go.
That's going to do it for us today. Since we get passionate about a backup center taking over. But, we got a big game this week. We'll be tuning in. And then Ryan and I are going to have to figure out how we're going to do next week, because it's going to be Thursday. I mean, it's going to be Thursday night football. So it's going to be a quick turnaround. Maybe we just go live or something. I don't know. But any final thoughts before we take off, Ryan?
Just that I'm going to need to sleep 18 hours on Wednesday to do certain things on the live game. UK times and Pride time games do not mix. So, yeah, I'm just going to be up at when my son... I'm going to be going to bed when my son is waking up, which is, you know, fun.
Well, hopefully it's another last-minute victory and you can be his alarm clock.
Yeah, sure. Thank me for that, grumpy toddler. Right.
Right on, guys. Well, hey, on behalf of Ryan, this has been the PowderKeg Podcast. My name's Kyle. Hope to see you guys soon, and bolt up.
Bolt up.